Hello and welcome to another episode of Discover with Sbenati. We are here on location at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. Yes, we are outside of London. Thank you for those that are tuning in to the YouTube, and thank you for those that are tuning in to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and everywhere else that podcasts are being listened to. Today we have a very, very special guest. As always, I only bring on very special guests. And today is absolutely no exception with Discover with Sbenati. We are discovering the talent of Hani Aldajani. He is a lawyer in the GTA region, and he is a phenomenal lawyer that I highly recommend. You'll hear more about him. He has passions that will drip through his face as he's talking. I can see it when he's talking to me. And he started something 2 years ago, which is called Yalla, Let's Talk, and it is a discussion platform from the community to discuss things that are stigmatized and that are not covered very well in media and even in society in general. And he likes to bring those to the forefront. Without any further ado, let's get straight to the meaty things. Hany, how's it going?
Good, man. Yo, thank you for the very kind introduction. No one has ever spoken that highly of me before, so thank you.
You deserve it. You deserve it, and more. So let's go straight to it. So you are involved. So you started this Yalla, Let's Talk, right? You did this Yalla, Let's Talk. You started it. You told me you started in 2017, and now you guys are starting to do your podcast. So you guys are really hitting it. You guys have 3 things that you guys are doing. You guys are doing. A conference, you guys are conferences. You guys are doing regular meetups for talking to our engagement groups, and you guys now are doing podcasts. So tell us more about this.
Started Yalla, Let's Talk in 2017. It started off as a YouTube show, and that's where the name Yalla, Let's Talk came from. And so I brought a couple of people to shoot something very similar to this with different millennials talking about things that we don't really talk about in our community. After we shot the first episode, I was like, this is not gonna work. I did not have any media production experience. It wasn't, I couldn't necessarily see it going that way, but having that conversation with these different friends, I was like, this was such a meaningful conversation, and we learned so much just by talking to each other that I decided, you know what, this might actually work as something else. So you change the plan, but not necessarily the goal. And so we regrouped. After a few months, I spoke to the Canadian Arab Institute, Rania Yunus, shout out to Rania right there, loved the idea. We talked a little more, and she was actually the one who championed the idea first to make more of like cafes and events. And so then we're like, okay, let's throw one cafe, one event, and let's have 20, 30 people. And I still remember Rania's like, you want 30 people, you have to go big or go home. So we're like, okay, let's target 120. So we started targeting the 120 folks, and we decided to actually make it at this space right here, and it was a symposium. And as we were building the conference, or the symposium, sorry, we started recruiting more people, the founding team of Yalla, Let's Talk. And then we had someone named Sema, Mace, Yasser Al-Dada, and then Zaina and Selma, and we all came together.
So how long did that come? So you started 2017, and you're saying all this process. What's the timeline? What are we talking about now?
So this was in the talk show was 2017.
Yeah.
Meeting Rania was in January of 2018.
Okay.
Bringing Mace and Sema was like in February and March, and then Yasser was March, April, and Zaina.
Okay.
And
so very recently.
Very recently,
okay.
And then officially we became a non-for-profit this summer.
Wow.
Yeah, so it ran as a youth-led initiative, and it is still a youth-led initiative.
So talk to us about that. So how often do you guys meet?
So as a group, or is it as an organization?
As the organization itself.
So as an organization, we have 3 specific things. So we have daily content, and then we have monthly cafes. So every month, we have a cafe that's usually right now in Mississauga, but we are expanding. Like next week, November 2nd, actually, we're going to be in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And then we're going to be in Montreal and other cities that I do not want to give away because it is kind of like a little bit of a secret.
Yeah.
But by the end of December, by the end of this year, we're going to be in 7 different cities around the world.
Wow.
Some in the Middle East, some in the U.S., some in Europe. So
that's amazing.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's a very exciting time.
And so you, as well as several other people as part of the organization, are traveling together and interviewing other people. Is that how it's done?
So that's actually not how it's done. It's the way it's done is this is a youth-led initiative. So what our secret sauce is, is really investing in the youth and investing and supporting them to spark those conversations in the community. So the way it's done is that the youth come to us, whether they're from in Mississauga, Toronto, whether they're in Montreal or Ottawa, and we work with them to organize that cafe. So some of us are going to these cafes as to support the youth leaders there, but it's 100% youth led. So we have people who are 21 and let's say in Washington DC who are organizing it, and we're meeting with them like on a weekly, bi-weekly basis to make sure everything is going well.
Okay, so tell me then. So then what's the whole premise behind you running this thing? So you're calling it a cafe. So when someone thinks of a cafe, they think they're meeting up to discuss something, right? So I'm guessing you're inviting people to this cafe, and I'm guessing you're actually holding it in a coffee shop. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you're holding it in a coffee shop, but you're inviting people to it. So who moderates it? What topics do you guys cover? Why should people even attend? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to entice people to be very motivated towards Yalla Let's Talk, because I think it's a really important initiative. I really think it's really good for people to come together to discuss any kind of issue, but specifically things that are targeted, specific things that have a purpose behind them. A lot of topics are stigmatized. A lot of things aren't covered really well in media, and media is controlling a lot of these topics. So I find it really fascinating and very inspiring for someone like you and the organization that you hold, for someone to actually bring those topics up to the forefront, so that people not only relying on the mainstream to hear these things, but now they're relying on the truth, which is unfiltered, uncut, unedited, from the eyes and the ears of society. So when you do this Yalla Let's Talk, and you're saying, okay, we're doing this cafe, you're traveling around the world to actually expose all these topics, why are people so interested to actually go to these things? What's the premise behind it? What do you guys discuss, and why should they attend?
okay, so I just wanted to clarify
Yes.
that our mission isn't necessarily to expose truths out there. We are an information exchange platform. We're really just creating that safe space where we're bringing a topic and people are then exchanging that information, their thoughts, their stories. One of our main principles that we were founded on is the fact that we want to share stories that would otherwise go unheard. It's the fact, not that the media is saying something that's untruthful or misfactual, it's the fact that we don't have that representation in terms of in media representation as well as safe spaces. And being, a young person who identifies with the Arab culture, we wanted to create those channels and those spaces where people can come, learn, and hear each other. So, and that I guess answers your questions of why should people go to this? It's really, we're a non-for-profit. We're not forcing people to come, but we're just really telling people that if you wanted a space where it's inclusive, it's safe, and you want to meet other people and talk about things that are significant and are meaningful, then you can come to us at Yalla Let's Talk. If you want to tune in and learn about topics that are under discussed within our community, then we have our content, and one of it is being the Yalla show that's soon being launched, as well as our podcast series, where again it goes back to the stories that would otherwise go unheard.
Okay, so give us some examples. So what kind of topics do you guys discuss?
So one easy example is dating. So for us, when it comes to dating in our culture, there's certain things that is
And
portrayed
when
a
you say
little
our
different.
culture, you're saying the Arab culture.
The Arab culture,
Okay.
or any things that are around that culture.
Yes.
So
The Middle Eastern culture.
Middle Eastern Arab culture.
Got
yes.
you. Okay.
So there are certain, I would say, like intricacies that when you're looking online, or let's say you're going through, influencers and trying to gather information, because hey, we live in 2019. You don't know something, Google it. Or if you want to like see more information or advice, there's so many people that are out there that can give you kind of like 2 cents. Like you're doing it right now. So it's the same idea. It's like if you want to kind of gather those 2 cents, we're now like one of the first episode of the Yalla show is about dating. So we're bringing 4 different millennials who identify with the Arab culture, and they're coming together and they're talking about dating, and not necessarily dating as in.
So let me interrupt you for a little bit. So when it comes to dating, okay, so are you bringing experts in date, like the ones that talk about these things? Like, are you bringing like religious speakers to to try to decipher whether dating is good, how you can fit that in? Are you bringing like counselors to see whether or
Absolutely
not?
not.
So who do you bring in? Like, and who moderates these talks?
So again, it depends on where you're going with. So when it comes to the cafes, we try to bring youth leaders who have some sort of expertise, and we use that term kind of loosely. So someone who, for example, who is very involved in, let's say, in mental health initiatives in school, and they're part of like Jack.org, or they might have created a startup in the mental health space, then that would be someone who's like a qualified facilitator. When it comes to the show, the Yalla show, the whole concept of it is bringing real Arab millennials, real people, and talk about these different things. We're not preaching what you should be doing. We're just saying this is a space, this is information that's being exchanged.
Okay.
So we're not an educational network by any means, but it's like, hey, why not listen to 4 different people? And when I say different, I mean they come from different walks of life. So like our first episode, for example, we had like one hijabi. We had one girl who's dating dating a Chinese person, and then the third person was an openly gay Lebanese man, and then the fourth person was someone who's slightly more conservative. And just bringing these conversations and bringing these different perspectives to talk about what is dating, how do you go about it, how do you find someone, all that kind of stuff.
So they talk about their experiences.
They talk about their experiences.
Okay, and then after, so basically you have a panel. Is that what it is? So Yalla Let's Talk is a group of individuals basically that bring 4 or how many people as a panel, and then from that panel, then they discuss those topics with those people that are discussing them from their experience.
So again, I think we need to differentiate between like the Yalla show,
Okay,
and then the Yalla Let's Talk cafes.
okay. So let's focus more on the Yalla Let's Talk cafe.
Okay.
Okay. So the cafe itself, I'm saying that because the Yalla Let's Talk show, it doesn't depend on the city that you're holding it in. It really depends on you just doing it, right? But what I'm trying to say is that the cafe, that's the one you're talking about when you're saying you're going to DC, you're going all over Europe, you're going to Middle East. You're talking about the cafes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the cafes itself, so when you're doing the cafes, let's say for instance, I'm hearing about it, I'm really interested in it. So, but what I'm wondering is that okay, if I'm going to these discussions, who's moderating, who's talking? Can anyone just blurt out and just discuss things whenever they want? Is there like a format?
Yeah.
What's the incentive for me to actually go, and how can I be motivated to go?
Okay. So again, just to answer the last question first, is that it is really a safe space where you can meet people and have meaningful conversation. Now, in terms of like the format, it really comes down to it's usually hosted on a weekend. People come together. The first hour is really mingling and kind of getting to know each other. We have then icebreakers, fun activities. Sometimes they relate to kind of the conversation and what we're actually talking about. And then for an hour and a half to 2 hours, we have the one youth leader who is somewhat of an expert on the topic, actually facilitating the conversation with 30 to 50 folks. And again, they're millennials, different values, and they kind of have this platform to change their experiences, to tell each other about what's working for them and what's not. And again, it's just a information exchange platform.
Okay.
So
this facilitator, can you mention an example of one of the facilitators that you had on?
yeah, so we had, for example, Shireen Salti from the Canadian Arab Institute. Mashallah, she's 25, executive director of CAI, the Canadian Arab Institute, and one of the mandates of CAI is increasing civic engagement. So Shireen, in September, to help bring more engagement towards the Arab community, as well as to kind of how do I say this? Again, the information exchange aspect, bring her expertise into the Yalla Let's Talk pool. She was our facilitator, and she was representing CAI as a partner for that cafe. And so Shireen facilitated the discussion on civic engagement. She did it in a fantastic way, where we started talking about what issues are important for youth. And it was a very mind-blowing thing to even see that conversation, because we had 30 to 50 people talk about some issues that are important to them, from immigration to human rights, to taxes, to whatever. And then by the end of it, I still remember Shireen was like, these are issues that are important for you. And these are issues that are important for the youth who identify with the Arab culture. And then she brought it back to civic engagement and why it was important for people to vote. And then it created that culture and that community where we're now increasing civic engagement.
I got you. So that's exactly what I was trying to get to. Okay, good. So you do have a facilitator, and that facilitator does have certain topics that they basically cover, but they're not giving out educational kind of it's not an educational format. It's more of a information exchange platform. But
Exactly.
there is a format where you do have someone with that kind of expertise to lead these kind of discussions with certain topics that they come up with.
Yeah, so we go with the facilitator and we
Yes.
go through their questions and we make sure that they're interactive enough.
Okay.
And so, again, it wasn't us saying we want to do a cafe on civic engagement.
Right.
It was Shireen coming to us and Kai, as part of Kai,
Right.
and being like, hey, would you want to do an event, a cafe on civic engagement?
Right.
Same exact thing with mental health.
Got you.
We had Radwan from Link Mental come to us,
Right.
as well as Yassine from Mirage, saying, hey, we want to do something about mental health. How can we organize this?
Right. Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So now that okay, so that's good. So that's the Yalla Let's Talk. That's the
Cafes.
cafe.
Yeah.
Okay. So now Yalla Let's Talk show. Okay, that started recently.
Yeah. So the
Right?
Yalla show,
Yes.
where
It's called Yalla Show. It's not Yalla Let's Talk show.
it's not the Yalla Stock show.
It's
the
just Yalla Show.
The Yalla show.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So we're partnered up with the 23 Republic. They're actually producing it for us, and it's been fantastic. Like I mentioned earlier, the premise or the idea of, or the seed of how Yalla Stock was created was actually to make it, was the show, was the lack of content out there for people within our community to actually tap in and use as a resource for information. And so now recently, it was what, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, that we shot our first few episodes. And it's fantastic because the whole premise is bringing different millennials and talking about their experiences, real topics, real people, and just having that conversation, just like this.
Okay. Perfect. And how long is the segment for?
So the segment is between 8 minutes to 12 minutes. So
Okay.
they're short segments.
Okay. And you've done how many segments so far?
So we have done between 5 to 7 or 8, depends on how.
So far.
So far.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And where do you launch these?
So for now, it's going to be on YouTube. It's
Okay.
going to start off on 23 Republic's YouTube channel, and then we're also going to be posting it as well as on our YouTube channel on the Yalla Let's Talk.
And what's the YouTube channel called?
Yalla Let's Talk.
Yalla Let's Talk.
Yalla Let's Talk.
Okay, and you guys can find this down in the link below for those people that are watching on the YouTube. There's a link below in the description. Yalla Let's Talk. Is there a website for them to go and check out?
Yeah, we have a website, and our main kind of like engagement is usually on our Instagram. So even when it comes to the videos on of the Yalla show, we're gonna have little snippets still on our Instagram as well. So
you're gonna have micro content as well as the entire content.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Okay, good. So if you guys want to check out Yalla Let's Talk, which I highly encourage you to do, yeah, there are a lot of topics there that you'll relate with, you'll resonate with. Even those that are actually driving and listening to this, you guys can check this out as well on Instagram. They have a Facebook as well. Yalla
we have
Let's
a
Talk.
Facebook,
And you're posting your things on Facebook as well.
We're posting so right now, in terms of our strategy, everything is going to be right now on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then micro content is going to be on Instagram, maybe also Facebook.
Okay, I got you. So the main things are Instagram, which the handle you'll find below in the description below, and also yallastalk.com.
Yeah.
Okay, and yallastalk.com, and you'll find all the information there as well. If you're if you're looking to see what other channels they're producing their stuff on. Okay, great. So Yalla Let's Talk. That's an amazing platform. You said there's also a third thing that you're doing.
Oh yes.
Okay.
So this is the conference. So like I said, the daily content. We got the monthly cafes and the annual conference, and this is being led by Yasser Al-Dada and the team made up of Ala Al-Qamiya and other youth leaders. And they're doing a fantastic job creating this space and kind of like a TEDx meets conversation event where we're bringing around 400 to 500 Arab millennials or people who identify with the Arab culture coming together and hearing inspiring stories. So that's kind of the premise of the conference.
So when you're saying that Yasser Al-Dada and all these other guys or gals that are leading this initiative, who's going to be the one that's going to be moderating it?
Can you clarify what you mean by moderating?
So when you have the conference, is it just going to be speakers going to be stand up on the podium, they're going to speak, or is it going to be kind of like what we're doing right now, like an interview style?
So that's something I think we need to talk more to Yasin and Ala, because I think all of that is being currently in the process of being designed.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you guys do have a set date that you want to advertise, or not yet?
Yes. So the set date right now is February 22nd, 2020. Save that. Mark that on your calendar.
Okay. And
Okay.
and you guys picked that specifically because of the number two?
Because of what? The
Number two? You guys playing with number twos?
Oh yeah, that's exactly why we picked it.
Seriously, you guys didn't plan it out like that?
To be honest, that's something maybe we have such a genius marketing team,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty sure that they took that into account, and I think it is a nice
Yeah.
it's a nice number.
Yeah.
So
Because
yeah,
I'll tell you right now, I thought us doing something, dude.
the of the 222s.
That's right.
Oh,
That's right.
damn.
222,
Yeah.
222. Yes.
It's
That's
a very
right.
good number. Yeah. So
Yes.
no one will forget that. You got to mark that on your
That's right.
calendar.
February 2nd, February 2nd, or February 22nd, was it? February 22nd, 2020. Okay?
2020.
2020.
Yeah. Was
Okay.
22? That would have been like bam.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And I'm sure you're going to have something in 22.
Yeah.
2022. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about you. Okay, you specifically.
What do you want to know
Okay,
about me?
so I do want to know a lot. And I'm sure a lot of the audience wants to know a lot about you. You're a lawyer.
I am a lawyer.
Okay,
yeah.
so a lot of people that want to become lawyers or aspiring lawyers right now, they want to be, in your trajectory. They want to go toward your trajectory. Tell them, how did you find out that you wanted to become a lawyer when you were even before university, or tell us about your journey.
Okay. So if anyone wants to be a lawyer, my first advice is to really ask yourself why you want to go to law school. And it could be different things. I don't even think you need to ask yourself whether you want to be a lawyer. It's more so why you want to go to law school, because it is going to be a lot of hard work and it is a lot of hustling. But if you have a strong enough why, you will be able to do it.
At what age did you discover that about yourself?
So this was actually when I was in Kuwait last year of high school. I did an internship at the International Organization for Migration, and just seeing the cases, case by case, where domestic servants, which is like maids, come in. People tell you about how, like, you hear stories about rape, you hear stories about like construction workers getting exploited and your passports being taken away. Again, that was a sense of injustice that I had, and that was the reason why I went to go in law school. I went to do my master's in industrial relations and human resources, and started practicing in labor and employment. Now, even though that's kind of like an interest that I still have and a passion that I still have, I find like I said, things do kind of like develop and change.
Of course.
I'm now finding myself, as much as I'm passionate about labor and employment, I'm also passionate about tech and startup community.
Of course.
And so I'm finding now ways to kind of bring those two worlds together.
Okay. So then that's really interesting. So how are you bringing those two? Because those are two completely different worlds. You're talking about business and tech, and you're talking about labor, and you're talking about injustices. So how are you bridging that gap?
Okay. So I think the way I see it is that you can have so many goals and you can do everything you want to do, not necessarily at the same time, but you need to find a way to kind of like structure things. So, for example, right now, one of my passions is really trying to communicate and improve the workers' quality of life back home. Okay, and one way I realized you could do that is also through technology. It's also through creating these innovations and through helping support organizations that are doing that.
Okay.
Right? Not necessarily that I'm going to be like Amal Clooney going on and like having these like, or like Nelson Mandela. I should have picked probably Nelson Mandela would have been a better person, like someone who's actually going to be like, I could do
the
that.
voice for the voiceless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can support the people who are doing all these things.
Okay.
And one of it is startup, the startup community, as well as organizations. And not to say that labor and employment is not something you could also be doing, but there's so many different ways and so many different practice areas that you can dabble in and find different ways to kind of support.
I got you. So basically, your focus right now, your passion right now is towards the tech industry and towards the startup and tech industries. And so by doing that, you're saying indirectly, you're actually addressing those labor injustices that are happening right now. That's what basically you're saying. That's the bridging that's happening.
Correct.
At that point.
At least for now. Yeah. And not to say what's going to happen in the next 2-3 years.
That's fair.
But for now, the way I see it is that you identify certain passions you have, and like I said, there's one assumption, and it kind of kills me whenever I hear this when people talk, is that discover your passion, and this makes it seem like everyone just has one thing they're passionate about, and in the reality of the situation, that you are likely to have multiple things you're interested in,
of course,
multiple causes you care for,
of course,
and things that are going to lead you to different directions. It doesn't mean you have to pick one over the other. It goes back to my core belief is that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. You can't necessarily, or you shouldn't necessarily try to do it all at the same time, but find a way where things could still be transferable.
Right.
So me right now deciding to go more in the startup community and trying to immerse myself there, that I can bring forward, if I choose to go somewhere else in the future.
Of course.
And vice versa. Me going in labor and employment and because that is how I started my career.
Yeah.
And now seeing how important human capital is and seeing it how much of it's how much of it's a competitive advantage it is for an organization, you transfer it now to the startup community.
So as a lawyer, you have to read a lot, right? You have to read quite a bit.
You do have to read quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you always like to read?
I always hated reading.
Okay. So what made you switch that into, because now you have to read?
That's exactly why, because now I have to read.
Okay.
So, but that's the thing. It's not so much do I enjoy reading, it's do I enjoy learning and am I curious about these cases that I'm reading. So I think that's when you change your mind frame to thinking about it as not so much reading, but so much curiosity and learning, then you're more engaged.
Okay,
So,
I got you.
But as a kid, hated reading. I still remember my mom would go to chapters and try to encourage us to read books, and she's like, buy as many books as possible, and there would be these stacks of books that I've never opened in my childhood career. So
you still haven't cracked open yet.
Not even one.
Okay. So how often do you read now?
So now I try to at least get I would say one book for every couple of months.
Okay.
So I love now reading more about kind of self-development as well as learning more about tech and startups and things that I'm curious about now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you growing up, you went. You said you did your undergrad here at UTM.
That's right.
You did your master's in University of Toronto.
Correct.
University of Toronto, and then you went to University of Ottawa to
Correct.
do your law school.
Correct.
And now you're back home here, right? Now you're back to your home ground.
Well, right? I live in Toronto,
yes.
But technically, this is the space where I did my undergrad.
Yes, yeah. Yes. So you're back to where you started, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that you're doing the Yalla Let's Talk, you're doing all these initiatives. I'm sure you're doing something else on the side as well. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Where do I see myself 5 years from now?
Yourself, the organization. Where do you see where's your vision? Where are you 5 years from now?
So, okay, from a personal level, I see myself being fulfilled. Okay. I don't know how that's going to look like, to be honest, or what exactly is going to happen in those 5 years, because I've noticed even within the 1-2 years, I guarantee you, looking back, a lot of things pivoted and a lot of things changed, right? And from Yalla Let's Talk, even from my trajectory and of where I'm seeing myself in my legal career, things change. And I think you have to accept the fact that it's okay to change your mind. If anything, it's embrace the fact that you change your mind. That's the only way you kind of discover. It's kind of like, hey, okay, I'm going off a little bit of a tangent, but now to answer your question, just put simply, is just being happy and fulfilled and knowing that I'm growing as a person as well as growing myself and my organizations and all the initiatives that I'm trying to build. Now, in terms of Yalla Let's Talk, where I really see it in 5 years, and again, things could pivot and things could change. But for now, I genuinely believe the secret sauce for Yalla Let's Talk is the community that's driving it. It's the community of youth leaders that are so willing and are so inspired to make a change and to actually be engaged and spark these conversations and to take agency and control. I don't know if I'm still going to be there in 5, 10, 20 years, but I know and I have so much faith that the youth leaders, the community that's driving it, is going to take it to the next level.
Excellent.
And so what I see in terms of Yalla Let's Talk in 5 years is really building more on that community leadership program and really helping develop youth leaders who identify in the Arab community or the Arab culture to become the leaders of tomorrow. As cliche as that sounds, but I genuinely do believe it.
It's not cliche at all. Actually, I believe in progress and I believe in passion transformation. I believe in mind shifts that happen constantly throughout time. I believe in that 100%. So I'm with you.
Awesome.
So now that we're heading close to the end of our show, what question do you have towards the audience that are listening right now? What question do you have towards them? Either a self-reflective question or a question that you're curious about. So about them, about the people that are listening. So ask away, and you have one question, and let's hear it.
Okay. the question is, and I just want to kind of like frame it so it kind of gives a little bit of context, is everything you're doing, anything you're doing, or whatever you want to take, like like whenever you want to take that leap of faith, just ask yourself, why not?
There you go. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being on Discover with Sbenati. It's been a pleasure.
My boy.
Sincere pleasure. We learned a lot. And I mean, your passion, like I said, exudes from you. And it's just dripping from your face. And I can see it. I can even there's an energy transfer that happens
Damn,
here.
that is
Yeah.
really cool. Did
It's,
not know.
it's true. It's very true. Thank you for those that are tuning in. Thank you for those that have tuned in on the podcast, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thank you for those that are tuning in on YouTube. Thank you. And we look forward to the next episode with Discover with Sbenati. Have a good one and look forward to it.